What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the shelf, and today I got a little bit of a physical media video for you. As the title would suggest, today I'm going to talk about why collecting physical media, for me, is just not fun anymore. I want to kind of preface what I'm about to say in this video by addressing the fact that I never wanted this to be like a physical media channel. There's so many channels out there already that do that sort of thing, and they do it well, and they provide really valuable insights to us, the consumer, about whether or not certain things are worth upgrading. You know, in my opinion, those are the physical media channels that really are the most worthwhile, if that's the right word. As a viewer, that's what I look for. That's where I find valuable, is like people who are not afraid to say, you don't need this 4K, your Blu-ray's fine, that sort of thing. Again, I also want to talk about the fact that this is all just my opinion. And if you do these things, you're not wrong for doing them. The things I'm about to go into in this video, and why physical media is not fun anymore. You're not wrong if you like doing these things or if you collect for these reasons. It's just strictly from my own point of view, and it's what makes the hobby less fun for me the longer and longer I do it for. This video is going to be kind of all over the place. I have a lot of thoughts on this subject. I'm not going to be the kind of YouTuber or whatever who like makes videos over and over and over again about like why physical media is failing and things like that. I don't want to be like a doomsayer who's like, you know, always trying to put down the format and the hobby of collecting. I don't want to be like super negative, but I do just really want to get these thoughts out there, and then that way I don't kind of have to like talk about it again, you know, because I mean, I don't want to just make the same video over and over again, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I also want to point out real quick that I do have 2 other videos on my channel that I'll try to link up here, and they are both titled 4K to buy or not to buy. And in those videos, I highlight 5 examples of 5 movies that I did upgrade to 4K and 5 movies that I did not upgrade to 4K. And I have 2 of those videos, and I go into a lot of like details about what can make something worthwhile to me and what isn't. And if you're interested, you can check those out up here somewhere. There's a couple different factors at play when discussing what makes physical media not fun for me anymore. So I'm going to get into the first one, and that is the popular one. It's the one that people really harp on a lot, and it's the constant slew of like 4K upgrades. You see this a lot, mainly with boutique labels like Scream Factory, Arrow Video, Criterion Collection. They're all pretty guilty of it. And it's a situation where these movies are just continuously being upgraded to 4K. And in my case, they are almost always movies that I already own on Blu-ray. And for me, I am very, very unlikely to want to spend the money on a 4K upgrade of a movie that I already own. This is just my opinion, but for the most part, the difference in picture quality is marginal and not justifying the purchase price. A lot of times what you get is some new packaging, which we'll talk about a little later, maybe some special features if we're lucky, but more often than not, it's the same shit that's being ported over from the last Blu-ray. A bit of background for me, I started really collecting physical media seriously in 2018. And in my opinion, I've always said this, I think that was probably the worst time to get into the hobby, because 4K was not that old in 2018. Yeah, the 4K format came out in 2016. So it was pretty new and it was pretty niche at the time. And I want to say I wasn't really the only one. I feel like most people during this time, 2018, were only collecting Blu-ray. I had a Blu-ray player. I did not have a 4K player, and I didn't really understand what 4K was and what it was capable of. So I was exclusively collecting Blu-ray. And so what happens when you first start collecting is you buy up all your favorite movies. And after a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years, you reach a point where you own all your favorite movies now. And you're good. And outside of like new releases, you're pretty much covered. All your bases are covered. You have all of your favorite stuff. And then so what winds up happening is 2018 turns to 2019, 2020. I think 2021 is when I finally got my first 4K player and, started getting into the format more. Around then is when you start to see all these labels re-releasing a lot of titles on 4K. And you come to a point very quickly where you're like, okay, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not going to re-buy all these movies that I already own. And I reached that point pretty quickly. Now, that said, there are movies that I have upgraded, and sometimes they were snap decisions and probably didn't need to be done. Other times they were pretty well researched. I made sure to do my due diligence and, find out if something was really worth it or not. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I'm like the arbiter of, oh, you're wasting your money or anything like that. I'm not perfect. I've definitely upgraded things that probably didn't need to. But so I say all of that to say that, eventually the whole thing got kind of old, and it's almost 2025 and there is no signs of stopping. So you kind of give me this ultimatum where it's like, okay, like 90% I feel like of all the new release announcements is just shit that's already been on the format before. Blu-ray at least anyway, not 4K. And so I'm just like, okay, well, you've made it quite easy for me now because you're saving my wallet a lot of money. Because I'm not going to play this game. It's not worth my money. It's not worth my space. And then what I wind up having to do is sell my Blu-rays because I don't need a 4K and a Blu-ray of the same movie, especially when the 4K usually comes with the Blu-ray. So in the interest of space, it doesn't really behoove me to keep both of them around. So then now I have to figure out what to do with it, try to either get some of my money back or like donate it to the local library. It's just not a good place to be. And so then that leads me to like the collector community as a whole. And when I say that, I'm talking about Instagram and YouTube as well. And Instagram was cool because, that's really where I started. I didn't have YouTube right away. I had mostly Instagram, and that's where I posted all my collection at, and it was really cool. But what you encounter on there is you see, that's where FOMO thrives, I feel like, because people will always post there's stacks of movies on new release day, and you can see everything that came out. And, if your stack wasn't maybe as big as this guy's stack, you feel like you were missing out on some new releases. And this is, again, where I want to say, if you buy every new movie on release day, and you can afford to do so, and you can do it without going into debt, and you genuinely want to own all of those movies, then more power to you, man. So really the kind of whole point of this video is just to kind of remind people that you don't need to have FOMO when it comes to this stuff. You don't know what everyone's financial situation is. And just buy what you are most excited about. What gets you excited. Don't just buy things because they're new, is really, I guess, what I'm getting at. And it's not just like the collector community, it's the labels. Take, for example, Scream Factory released a 4K of Dead Silence, which is a movie that has fans, but for the most part, it's not considered one of James Wan's best movies. But Scream Factory will re-release it on 4K. They will give it a really cool slipcover with commissioned artwork. Maybe it'll have one or two new features, and they'll charge you like $39.99 for it. And, they have all these packages where you can get a custom slipcover. So you have two slipcovers for one movie, which makes no sense. You can get some pins, you can get a new poster, whatever. And people will be like, oh, it'll cause this like revisionist history where people are like, oh yeah, maybe I actually do like Dead Silence, and maybe I do want it because it's got this cool new slipcover, and Scream Factory is doing it, and it's a label that I like. And I just want to like shake these people and be like, dude, no, it's Dead Silence. Like, it's not a good movie. If you like it, you like it. That's one thing. But I guarantee there are people out there who rebought Dead Silence, watched it for the first time in like 20 years, and then they watch it, and then I guarantee they put it back on their shelf, and then they probably won't watch it again for like fucking 10 years, dude. Because that's the that's the boutique label treatment. I don't want to call out Scream Factory too much because they're not the only ones who do it. But like that's what happens a lot of the time, I feel like. And it's just like, don't fall for this shit. Don't play these studios' games. It's not worth it. They're just like polishing a turd, basically. And it's just, these movies aren't worth it. The difference in quality is very marginal at best, if ever. Sometimes, every now and then, you'll get something like Carrie or Black Christmas, where they re-release it, and it actually justifies its release. The picture quality on Carrie is phenomenal. The 4K of Black Christmas has an improved soundtrack or audio track. But that's what I mean. Find these things out, watch reviews from people you trust, do your research, and make informed purchasing decisions. So many of these boutique labels releases of these Blu-ray movies were already so good that you don't really need these 4Ks more often than not. You're really not getting much more, and the reality is that you're kind of just wasting money. Now, I know it sounds like I'm trying to tell you guys what to do, but really all I'm trying to say is, this is how I feel about things, and if you agree with me, you're more than welcome to, and if you disagree, then I would, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. But I feel like people need to hear this stuff every now and then, and, if I can even convince one person out there to take that money that they would spend on a 4K of a movie they already own and just spend it on literally anything else, I think you'll find in the long run that it would be a better investment. Couple examples of things that are also just kind of like bad business and anti-consumer. A movie like Zodiac recently got a 4K, which is a David Fincher film. It's a beloved film. People have been waiting for a 4K for a while. And since it's a studio doing it, it's always a coin flip as to whether or not the picture quality is going to be good. I've read a few things on Twitter and Blu-ray.com that the 4K release of Zodiac is pretty underwhelming, which sucks if that's a movie you were excited for and you just bought it day one on principle just because it's Zodiac. When in reality, the jury's still out. I could be wrong about this, but this is just one example, but it could be very well a situation where your Blu-ray of Zodiac was perfectly fine. And then Disney's doing this thing where they're releasing their Disney Plus shows in these 4K steelbooks. They're doing it for like the Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff. They drop for like $75 for pre-order. And then, eventually they've come down to where I think they're at like 50 now. And like, even that is just too much. It's too much money. But they got us between a rock and a hard place because some people don't want to support bootlegs. And Disney's doing something that not every streamer does, which is release their stuff on physical media. So anytime that they do it, it's something to be commended. But at the same time, you're charging an arm and a leg. And it's pretty anti-consumer because, the people who want to buy this stuff are diehard collectors. And when you kind of price gouge like that, it feels like you're really like nickel and diming us for something that we want. So it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? And then studios will release, they'll do a Blu-ray of a movie, and then 6 months down the road, they'll do a 4K of the same movie. And usually Universal has been like the biggest culprit with this. So it's actually at the point now where if you do this, then it's kind of on you because everyone knows that Universal's going to do this shit. So it's almost like you did it to yourself at this point because they have done it countless times. But it's just bad business. It's anti-consumer. You're denying us the choice rather than announcing a 4K and a Blu-ray at the same time where most people would, or not most people, I should say, but some people will want the choice of the 4K, and you deny it to them so they get the Blu-ray because that's the best available version, and then you do the 4K. And now I feel like I'm sitting on this Blu-ray that I don't know what else to do with because I don't need 2 copies, but I want to buy the next version, the 4K. So to kind of wrap this all up, man, it's like, for me, the hobby is just not fun anymore. I can't go to Best Buy and buy this shit in person. I don't like going to Walmart. The one closest to me is, usually has a really bad selection anyway. It's very inconsistent, unlike how Best Buy was. The fun of buying shit on Amazon is not really there. And then I'm sort of an impulse buyer anyway, so like I'm more likely to buy something if it's in front of me, because as opposed to Amazon where I have to like go through the motions of making sure I want to buy this and, pressing order, and I don't know, it's not the same, and you know what I'm talking about, I think. Ever since that happened, Best Buy dropping out, and couple that with all the 4K re-releases of movies I already own right here on this shelf, it's just not fun for me. Like, I don't get a ton of enjoyment out of taking the Blu-ray off and putting the 4K on. the shelf, like, it's just not fun. And I've reached the point where I've got all my favorite movies, as I've said. So it's to the point where, like, very, very rarely, I think I'm most excited this year to get my second sight of Blair Witch, because I love the Blair Witch Project, and I'll buy that one because right now all it has is a crappy artisan Blu-ray. And so, you know, that was a no-brainer for me. But that was, like, the only release announced this year. Maybe not the only. There might have been a few other ones. But, like, outside of new release movies that have come out this year, I don't go back and buy the catalog shit, really. Like, I just don't. I don't feel the need to. And I think that, you know, you'll find that it's not always a good use of your money. So there we go, guys. That was a huge rant. I've had these thoughts and feelings for a while. I'm not a physical media YouTube channel. That's not to say that I don't watch and love physical media YouTube channels myself, but I'm not that. If anything, I'm the guy who's going to tell you not to buy shit. And I don't think that's very fun. So, like, there's plenty of other channels out there who do this and they do it well. But I think my only thing that I can offer to the conversation is, like, my own personal experience and what I think people should, you know, think about every now and then. Because some of these other YouTube channels, they're not going to tell you this stuff that I'm saying, and that's totally cool, because that's just not what they do. But I'm someone who likes to think about, you know, how can I get less movies in my collection as opposed to getting more, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I digress. Rant over. But yeah, guys, that's why physical media is not fun to collect anymore for me. So really what I want to know is, do you agree? You know, if you share my thoughts and feelings on the subject, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to feel vindicated and feel as though I'm tapping into something here, because I know I can't be the only one who feels this way. So with all that being said, guys, please take care and watch more movies.